Hook mo dao hi. I'm Madison. My mom looked me dead in the eye in front of everyone and screamed, "Get out and never come back." Not a week later, my dad texted, "Did the mortgage go through?" They erased me from family photos, thanked my brother for the house I paid for, and used my name to take out loans I never signed. And now, they want my silence? You ever wonder what happens when the quiet one finally stops playing along? Let me tell you. Sunday night again. In our family, that used to mean roast chicken, cornbread, and everyone pretending they were happy to see each other. The Bain house looked the same as it always had: worn bricks, porch light flickering, the creak in the floor just inside the door. But everything about tonight felt off. I walked in with a pie I didn't want to make, smiled at people who didn't see me, and headed straight to the kitchen like a maid who forgot she shares their blood. No one looked up. I set the table, poured drinks, adjusted the napkins, every plate perfectly placed, just like I was trained to do since I was 15. Mom didn't say hi. Dad nodded once. Kellen laughed too loudly from the den, already into the wine. Odessa sat with her phone, probably halfway through composing another Instagram caption about family roots. I stood there, invisible, knowing my cue. I've played this role before. But something told me this was going to be the last time. There were 6 seats at that table. 5 had name cards. Mine didn't. Instead, my chair was squeezed next to the swinging door and the trash bin, like an afterthought. I paused a second too long. Eudora didn't notice, or pretended not to. Kellen's spot, of course, was at the head, wine glass in hand, plate already half full, laughing like this was his stage. One of the neighbors from across the street had been invited. I don't know why, maybe to bear witness. She leaned toward Odessa and asked, not bothering to lower her voice, "Is she the new help?" No one corrected her. Odessa just smiled. I didn't react, just nodded politely, sat down, and took my seat like it was always meant to be mine, even if everyone in the room knew otherwise. The napkin at my place setting was plain white. Everyone else's had their embroidered initials, fancy ones I hand-stitched back when I still believed a handmade gift could earn you a real seat at the table. That was over a decade ago. Seems like the monogram faded faster than the memory of who gave it to them. Dinner was served. We passed the dishes, laughed at the right moments, said grace, even though I was the only one who still closed her eyes. Everything moved in slow, southern precision, until Mom lifted her glass. She stood with a smile painted on like cheap blush. "To my real children," she said, raising her glass toward Kellen and Odessa. "Who've always known where they belong." The neighbor clapped. I nearly choked on my cornbread. Then came the nail. "Madison," she added with a soft chuckle. "Always acted like she never really belonged here anyway." The room froze. For a second, no one knew whether to laugh or wait for the punchline. Then Kellen gave a low chuckle. Odessa tilted her wineglass. The neighbor smirked. Dad didn't look at me. My hands stayed in my lap, fork resting on the edge of my plate. Inside, I broke into 10,000 shards, but outside, I didn't flinch. I remembered the night I folded those napkins, the blood from my pricked finger, the way I stayed up to make sure the thread matched each sibling's favorite color. Mine had faded the fastest. They didn't erase me tonight. They rehearsed it for years. I just finally heard my line. Dessert came. I didn't taste it. I watched the people around me, smiling, sipping, complimenting Eudora's casserole like she hadn't gutted me 10 minutes earlier. I thought about the hospital bill I paid when Dad had that episode, the mortgage payments I covered, quietly, month after month, the birthday card they forgot, the seat at Christmas I was told had been accidentally given to a neighbor's kid. My hand trembled as I poured the coffee, but not from rage. It was something colder than that. recognition. I am the ghost in my own family. I thought about standing up, flipping the table, screaming. I thought about walking out. But I didn't. I sat. I waited. Not because I was weak. Because I needed to see it through. One last time, I needed to feel the sting so I'd never forget it again. Dinner ended. They moved to the living room. Kellen cracked a joke. Eudora laughed. Dad turned on the TV. No one offered to help clean up. I stacked plates, collected glasses, tidied like I always did. As I passed by Eudora on the way to the kitchen, she leaned in, lips barely moving. If you can't handle a little truth, maybe you shouldn't come next week. I didn't blink. I didn't curse. I didn't say goodbye. I walked to the door, grabbed my coat, and stepped outside. The sound of the door clicking shut behind me felt final, like a judge's gavel or a gunshot in an old western. I didn't cry on the drive home. I didn't even blink hard. The door had closed behind me like a statement. Final. Complete. Hot Springs was quiet that night, the kind of quiet where every blinking light feels like it's judging you. I took the long way back, down by the creek where we used to have church picnics, past the gas station Kellen got caught stealing gum from when he was 11. He cried. I paid for it. Now no one remembers that but me. My reflection in the car window stared back at me, hollow. I didn't want to look at her, not because she looked weak, because she looked done. I parked and sat still. The silence in my car was heavier than the entire dinner table back there. I didn't move until my phone lit up. A text from Dad. Did the mortgage go through yet? That was it. No, how are you? No, I saw you left early. Everything all right? Not even, thank you. Just, business. I read it 3 times. Not because I didn't understand, because I did. It confirmed everything. 18 months ago, I was shaking on the phone with the bank, asking if there was any way to pause the foreclosure on the Bain house. I still remember the hold music. I still remember thinking, if I do this, maybe they'll see me. When I told Mom we were approved, she smiled. A real one. But it wasn't for me. It was relief they wouldn't have to move to a less embarrassing neighborhood. Her words, not mine. That memory burned now. I turned my phone face down on the table, stared at the ceiling, and made a quiet decision. If all I was to them was a function, I'd stop functioning. The next morning, I grabbed the slow cooker from under my kitchen sink, the same one Mom lent me months ago, and asked about 4 separate times since, as if returning it was my final debt to pay. No text, no call. I just drove over. The house looked the same, but I didn't. I let myself in through the back like I always had. Like the help. No one heard me come in. No one cared. I set the slow cooker on the counter and turned to leave, but something new caught my eye in the hallway. A giant photo collage, walnut frame, at the top, Bain Family Legacy. It was professionally printed, matte finish, new. It hadn't been there last time. In it were pictures of Eudora and Merritt on their wedding day, Kellen in his baseball uniform, Odessa at her graduation. Even the dog, Lucky, made the cut, tongue out, smiling, but not me. Not a single picture, not a name, not even a baby photo shoved in the corner. Beneath the collage was a custom wooden plaque that read, "Our greatest blessings call us Mom and Dad." I stood there for too long, not angry, just cold. I didn't say anything. I didn't touch anything. As I stepped out the front door, I heard her voice from the other room. Light, bored, familiar. Thanks for dropping it off. No need to linger. I didn't linger. I walked to my car, unlocked the door, and sat behind the wheel. Not furious, just hollow. I remembered the photo that used to hang where that plaque now stood. Me at 16, holding a regional achievement award, smiling next to Dad. He looked proud in that picture. proud in the way you hope to remember. Gone now, replaced by Kellen grinning in his cap and gown, a diploma he barely earned. That wasn't forgetfulness. That was an edit. And the worst part? It worked. No one questioned it. No one missed me. I stared at my hands resting on the steering wheel. Hands that wrote every check, signed every form, made every repair call. These hands saved their home. And now? These same hands didn't even exist in the version of the story they were telling. You can love people so much, they forget you have a spine. Then when you grow one, they call you ungrateful. Back in my apartment, I didn't say much. I didn't need to. I walked to the bookshelf, pulled down the framed photo of me and Mom from when I was little. Disneyland trip. She looked happy. I looked like I thought that happiness was real. I didn't throw it away. I put it in a drawer, not out of hate, just because it didn't belong on display anymore. Then I sat down on the couch, opened my laptop, and pulled up my banking app. The automatic payment was still there. Ticking. Scheduled. My finger hovered over it. I didn't cancel it. Not yet. But I clicked into the name field, the part that read Family Mortgage, and I changed it. I renamed it Debts of Silence. That night, I slept straight through. 7 hours. No dreams. No nightmares. Just quiet. I opened the kitchen drawer looking for a takeout menu, Chinese probably, because I didn't have the energy to cook. My hand landed on a folder instead, labeled in my own handwriting. House expenses. I knew what was inside before I opened it. 6 years worth of quiet. 6 years of my name never being mentioned, but my money never missing. I sat on the floor and spread them out. Monthly mortgage receipts, property tax payments, the $200 I once sent for a leaky water heater, and that damn $3,500 check to cover a new roof. Every sheet bore the same thing, my account number, my name. I ran a highlighter over the dates, one by one. All that money, invisible labor, shoved into a drawer like old takeout menus and expired coupons. I remembered the night Mom cried to me on the phone. "We're going to lose the house, Madison, unless something happens fast." Her voice cracking, not from fear of losing a home, but from shame of losing appearances. "We can't be the family that gets foreclosed on." I didn't hesitate back then. I didn't ask for repayment, didn't ask for credit. I called the bank, negotiated directly, and took on the monthly bleeding myself. Why? Because I didn't trust them. I trusted the numbers. "They called me selfless," I murmured. "Then they took everything and called me selfish." The first time I told them the bank had offered a family hardship restructure, they didn't question it. Mom lit up like Christmas morning. "Really? So, it's handled?" I nodded. "It's all good now." They never asked for details, never asked how. Just smiled and went back to planning a backyard BBQ like nothing had happened. I'd invented a lie they were comfortable believing, a fake program at the bank, because the truth was too humiliating for them, that their daughter was the one who kept the walls up. I handled every payment myself. Late-night calls, overtime shifts, skipping holidays, choosing canned soup over takeout, all to keep them afloat. At first, Mom was nice about it, thankful even. Then she stopped saying thank you altogether. Eventually, she started acting like it had always been that way, as if she deserved it. And maybe the worst part is, I let her. It wasn't just a lie I told them. It was the lie I told myself, that if I gave enough, maybe they'd finally see me as one of them. Maybe I'd stop feeling like a stranger in my own damn family. But strangers don't bankroll you. They just walk away. One Christmas, the heater broke down. Middle of December, the whole house freezing. I paid $1,200 for an emergency technician to come out that night. During dinner, I heard Mom tell a guest, "Kellen called the guy. Can you believe that? So responsible for a change." I had the invoice in my purse, didn't say a word. That wasn't the only time. One winter, my car got repossessed. I was so busy covering their bills, I missed my own. I turned down a promotion in Dallas because it required traveling. If I was on the road, I couldn't talk to the bank during office hours. Once, I nearly defaulted on my rent just to cover their overdue tax penalty. But the story always went the same. Kellen stepped up. Odessa helped decorate. Mom kept the family strong. Dad worked hard. And me? I made it possible for them to pretend they were holding it together. My silence made their comfort possible, I muttered. And now that I speak, I'm the problem. At work, during a budget review, I stared at a spreadsheet so long the numbers blurred. Lyle leaned over and asked if I was okay. Ever pay someone's mortgage and still not have a place to sleep in their home? I asked without looking up. He didn't laugh. He didn't try to make it lighter. He just nodded. Later that day, he messaged me. "Whenever you're ready to review liability, let me know." I typed, "Not yet," then deleted it. Then typed it again. Still didn't send. I wasn't ready for revenge, but I was ready to remember. That night, I pulled the folder out again and relabeled it. Scribbled over house expenses. New name, the ghost budget. I went to bed early. In my dream, I was standing in the living room of the Bain house. Everyone was there, talking, laughing, eating, and no one saw me. I called their names. They didn't turn around. It wasn't a nightmare. It was memory. Morning came. I made coffee, no sugar, and pulled out a clean sheet of paper. I started calculating. Total paid, $137,000. Emergencies and repairs, $11,000. Emotional return on investment, 0. I looked at the total at the bottom, circled it. "If I'm their ATM," I whispered, "then I get to choose when the funds are frozen." I sealed the folder, put it in the fireproof lockbox I bought the week after the foreclosure scare. Then I logged into the bank and canceled one auto payment, not the mortgage, not yet, but enough to remind myself I'm no longer invisible. The morning started like most do when you've gotten used to being numb. I made coffee, sat at the counter, opened my phone. I wasn't expecting much. Maybe a weather update or one of those generic prayer chain messages from old high school friends. But what I saw instead? "So proud of our Kellen, the son who saved the family home." That was the caption on a video being shared by Eudora's church ladies. It was edited, professionally. Smooth transitions. Music that sounded like a patriotic slideshow. And there he was, Kellen, standing in front of the house I paid for. The house I kept from being ripped out from under them. The voiceover started with Eudora's voice. When we were on the edge, Kellen stepped up. We couldn't have kept our home without him. I dropped the phone. Not out of shock, it was something colder. My body just gave up holding it. Then came the burn, slow, controlled, familiar. I replayed the video 3 times. Not to double check. Just to make sure, no mention of me, not one. I texted my cousin, Maya. She works with a local media group that sometimes gets asked to broadcast town hall events. I didn't beat around the bush. Did Mom submit a video for the community panel next week? 3 dots. Then, yeah, looks like it. She filed under Bain Family Legacy. Kellen's listed as the main speaker. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the wall. The worst part? I remembered shooting that footage last Thanksgiving. I was the one who told Kellen where to stand, adjusted the lighting, even held the damn camera steady through a full battery swap. I watched them repackage my house, my silence, my sacrifice, and put his face on it. They didn't just delete me, I said out loud to no one. They drafted me into my own disappearance. And suddenly I could hear Eudora's voice from that Thanksgiving day. You're good with tech, right? Just help Kellen look natural. Don't overthink it. She'd smiled when she said it. Like I was the assistant, not the backbone. The video took off online. Comments poured in. Love seeing strong families pull together. Kellen really is the man of the house. This is what grace under pressure looks like. At work, people noticed. One woman by the copy machine said, "You must come from a real stand-up family." I smiled, said nothing. In the restroom, I vomited into the sink and wiped my mouth with a paper towel that smelled like antiseptic and denial. That night, I printed out the comments, the praise for Kellen, the admiration for Eudora's strength, and pinned them to my refrigerator, right next to the notice for my next rent increase and my overtime schedule taped up for the week. Public lies on one side, private truth on the other. After dinner, leftover chicken, because payday wasn't until Friday, I set up my phone. Balanced it on 2 books in front of the couch, then I hit record. This is what it looks like to be invisible in your own story. No tears, no rage, just a list. Mortgage payments, 6 years, property tax, 3 times, emergency plumbing. That was me. Kellen, not $1, but I'm the ghost. When I finished, I didn't post it. I named the file Evidence and saved it in a folder on a hard drive labeled Vault. I didn't record it for revenge. I recorded it for memory, for proof. Because when people rewrite history, sometimes all you can do is document your part before they tear the page out. I sat in silence. The house was quiet, but not lonely, just quiet enough to hear my own thinking. Let them clap for each other. I'm not done collecting receipts. Before heading to bed, I opened my email and started drafting a message to Lyle. Subject line: Need to talk ownership. I attached photos, the deed I helped secure, the mortgage receipts, the video screenshots, the comments. I didn't hit send. Not yet. I read through it once, twice. Last line I typed, "Let's see what they say when I stop paying for their fairy tale." Then I saved it as a draft, turned off the lamp, and went to bed. I'd been putting it off for months, getting my affairs in order. But that morning, I drove myself to a notary's office across town, signed paperwork updating my will, and walked out without saying much to anyone. It felt strange. Final. Like drawing a quiet line in the sand even if no one else could see it yet. On my way home, I drove past my parents' street. I didn't mean to. The turn was automatic. Kellen's car was in the driveway again. I didn't stop. Not my circus. Not anymore. The afternoon sun was starting to dip by the time I pulled into my apartment. As I stepped toward my door, I noticed an envelope on the floor, half slid under the frame. No postage, no sticker, just handwriting I recognized instantly. Odessa's. I picked it up, walked inside, and closed the door. No note, no explanation. Just one folded piece of paper. I opened it. Property title, transfer of ownership. Everything stilled. I sat down on the edge of the couch, eyes frozen on the header. Merritt's name, gone. Kellen Bain, listed as the sole owner. It wasn't a surprise, not exactly, but seeing it in black and white, that was betrayal with a signature. I went to the hall closet, pulled out a box labeled housing, and dug out the folder I'd kept from 2 years ago. Inside, my co-signer documents, digital transfer confirmations, the invoice for the closing costs, paid from my checking account. I scrolled through my email archive, found the bank confirmation sent to my account. There it was. And now, I was nowhere. Not an initial, not even a mention, not forgotten, deleted. I leaned back in my chair and stared at the ceiling. My hands were shaking, not from rage, from realization. They never meant for me to stay part of it. I was a temporary utility. a line item they could erase once the ink dried. I whispered, this wasn't oversight. It was theft dressed in familiarity. Then the phone rang. Tanner. I hadn't heard that name out loud in years. 2, maybe more. My hand hovered over the screen. I thought about ignoring it. Then I answered. His voice was quieter than I remembered, maybe more tired. Maybe mine just wasn't tuned to it anymore. I saw the video, he said. I know that's your house. I didn't respond. He went on. You always did too much for them. I remember thinking, if I'd fought harder, maybe we wouldn't have ended up like this. Silence filled the line. But the truth is, I couldn't compete. Not with them. You didn't need me to rescue you. You needed them to stop drowning you. I took a breath. Didn't let it catch. He paused. You picked them, Madison. Maybe now, it's time to pick you. The call ended. I stared at the screen long after it went black. His words didn't land like comfort. They landed like instruction. Back in my living room, I opened the fireproof box again. Pulled out every receipt, every payment history, every stamped and notarized lie I'd built my life around. I laid them out across the floor. 6 years, invoices, tax forms, statements with my name, my money. In the center, I placed the new deed, the one that proved I no longer existed in their version of the story. The comparison made my chest ache, not from hurt, but from pressure. From years of carrying what wasn't mine. I sat down on the rug, let the weight of it press into my bones. It didn't feel like losing something. It felt like waking up. I've built a life on silence, I said to no one. It's time I listened to the part of me that's been screaming this whole time. Later that night, after cleaning up the papers and returning them to the box, I opened my laptop and drafted an email to Lyle. Subject: possible claim, financial fraud. Body: summary of unauthorized title transfer, signature removal, history of payments. I attached everything I had, but I didn't send it, not yet. Instead, I opened a separate drawer and pulled out an old photo of me and Tanner, taken back when I still believed in staying for the sake of peace. We were laughing in it. That was before I stopped laughing. I placed the photo beside the property deed. 2 different versions of myself. One who kept giving everything, and one who was done. They took the house, I whispered. They won't take what I have left of me. I hadn't planned on going over there. I was just supposed to pick up a few boxes from the garage, old college books I didn't even want anymore. But something in me said, go now. So I did. The house felt the same, like it was stuck in a loop, always smelling faintly of lemon cleaner and secrets. I stepped inside through the side door, like I always had. My feet barely made a sound across the tile. There she was, Eudora in the living room with Flossie, our cousin who treats gossip like it's church work. They were sipping sweet tea, laughing low, like they were sharing something worth hiding. Flossie looked up and smirked. Didn't think we'd see you around here again. I didn't answer, just kept walking. Grabbed the box, arms stiff. As I passed through the kitchen, something caught my eye, half tucked under a paper towel roll and some old coupons. There it was, a legal envelope, crumpled, half buried like trash. I slid it into my tote without looking inside. Didn't say a word, just walked out. Later that night, I sat at my table, lights dimmed low. I pulled out the envelope and unfolded the contents. It was a duplicate title deed, the one I'd been removed from, the one they thought I'd never see. It hit me right then, not that they erased me, that they were so sure I wouldn't notice. While I was packing up the last of my things at the house, I opened the junk drawer by the fridge, a mess of keys that no longer opened anything, take-out menus from places that had closed, broken rubber bands. And there, shoved under a pile of twist ties, something soft. I pulled it out, a handkerchief, faded stitching. My initials, MB, still holding on. I hadn't seen it in years. I'd made it when I was 19. Thought it would mean something. Thought maybe handmade meant remembered. Now it was stained. Looked like wine. Probably from a party I wasn't invited to. I ran a damp cloth over the corner. Tried to lift the stain. It didn't budge. When people toss enough of you away, I muttered, you stop offering pieces to pick up. I sat there for a while just holding it. Then I folded it, not like something precious, but like something I was done with. I tucked it into my coat pocket. Didn't know why, just did. That night, I drafted an email. Subject line, financial contributions, confirmation. It wasn't long, no emotion, just bullet points. Mortgage payments, 6 years. Emergency repairs, 4 separate times. Closing costs, paid in full. Tax penalty, covered twice. Attachments followed. Receipts, bank transfers, copies of the original title. The last line read, if my contributions are erased, my support will follow suit. I hit send, not for them to read. For me to have a timestamp. Lyle looked over the deed the next day in his office. His eyes didn't widen. He just nodded slowly. You've got a case if you want to pursue it, he said. I shrugged. Still deciding. He leaned forward. You can't keep trying to build bridges with people who keep burning blueprints. I didn't reply, but the words sat with me long after I left. A few days later, Eudora posted a family photo on Facebook. Caption, not everyone was meant to be part of every chapter. Flossie hearted it. Odessa commented with a Bible verse. Something about grace. I didn't comment. I didn't share. But I screenshotted it, filed it away. Instead, I printed everything again. Every receipt, every call log, every line where my name should have been and wasn't. I placed it all in a clean binder. Label, proof. If they wanted to play memory games, I'd keep the receipts. One afternoon, I stopped by the community center. No appointment, just walked in. I handed the receptionist an old donation form, one Eudora had filled out years ago. I won't be continuing this under their name, I said. Then I tore it in half, dropped it in the trash. Before leaving, I turned back. Do you have any blank forms? She nodded, pulled one from a drawer. I filled it out at the counter. Name, Madison Bain. Contribution, to myself. I folded it, slid it into my wallet, and left. They'd heard the warning. They just didn't believe I'd follow through. The invitation came through work email, standard flyer for a local fundraising banquet at the community center. Nothing fancy, but enough to get noticed. I didn't plan to go at first. Then I saw Mom's name listed as one of the founding family contributors. And Kellen? He was listed as a guest speaker. I didn't RSVP. I didn't tell anyone I was coming. When I walked into the venue, someone at the check-in table handed me a name tag without asking. It read, M. Bain, Logistics Coordinator. I stared at it for a second, then pinned it to my blouse. The tables were arranged like a wedding, family seats in front, sponsors on display, names in big, bold print on laminated tent cards. Eudora, Merritt, Kellen, Odessa. Mine wasn't there. My place? Tucked in the back near the catering trays and iced tea dispenser. A volunteer leaned down and asked, "Are you one of the new part-time helpers?" I smiled without teeth. Apparently. I sat down without correcting her. Because the truth didn't need correcting, it was written into the room. They had rewritten the story so thoroughly, even the town believed I was a footnote. When the speeches started, I clapped where expected. I didn't eat much. My plate stayed full. My stomach stayed hollow. On my way out near the front entrance, I passed by a display board being assembled for permanent installation. Title etched in gold. Bain Family Impact. Photos of shovels in dirt. Eudora cutting a ribbon, Kellen posing with a gardening spade like he'd ever dug a hole in his life. Below that, a plaque listing the family contributors: Merritt, Eudora, Kellen, Odessa. My name? Not even in the fine print. This board was sponsored by the local Rotary Club. It would stay there, cemented, framed. I ran my fingers along the frame, not to feel pride, just to know where they had cut me out. My mind flashed to the summer I pulled weeds behind this very building, alone, no cameras, no brunch afterward. Just sweat and silence. Erasure doesn't scream. It whispers while you clean up after it. That night at home, I didn't pour wine, didn't journal. I opened my laptop, opened the draft I'd saved to Lyle, and started adding. Photos from the banquet. Screenshot of the event program. List of my contributions cross-referenced with donation records. I labeled it. Phase 1. Exposure. I moved everything else, the grief, the hope, the naive belief that silence was strength, into a folder I didn't plan to open again. This wasn't emotional anymore. This was strategy. They made it a narrative war. Fine. I'd give them a plot twist. While organizing my physical files, I found something jammed behind an old tax return folder. A note. Folded. Slipped inside a thank you card. The handwriting was Eudora's. Thank you for always taking care of us. We couldn't have made it without you. No date. No occasion. I didn't remember ever receiving it. It wasn't signed. Wasn't real. But it proved they knew. Next to it, I placed a copy of my pay stub from the same month. Mortgage deduction, clear as day. They didn't forget. They just got comfortable pretending. I looked at both papers for a long time. Love wasn't what I wanted anymore. I wanted accountability. I wanted balance. No fireworks. No revenge. Just the truth, documented and undeniable. I packed it all into a folder and labeled it. Proof, ready. Then I zipped it into an encrypted file and sent it to Lyle. Subject, reveal kit. Attachment, 43 pages. One legacy. Redacted names, optional. The next morning, I confirmed a meeting with Anna DeWitt, a journalist I'd known in college, someone who still believed truth should make people squirm. I drafted my statement, no frills, no stories, just facts. Final line read, if they want legacy, I'll show them what truth looks like when it's no longer afraid to be heard. And then, I waited. The sky outside my window was still. No wind. No birdsong. The storm hadn't hit yet, but the sky just went quiet. The call came while I was folding laundry. Nothing dramatic, just jeans, socks, a few dish towels I'd stopped bothering to match. The number on the screen was unfamiliar, but something told me to answer. Hi, is this Madison Bain? The voice on the other end asked, flat and polite like someone who'd said the line too many times that day. Yes, speaking. This is Sheila from First Horizon Bank. I'm calling to verify a loan application submitted under your name, co-signed with a primary party at 408 Hillcrest. I froze. Hillcrest was their address. I didn't submit a loan. She paused, then cleared her throat. We just need to confirm that you intended to co-sign for a $25,000 personal line of credit, marked for home renovations. My chest tightened. I hadn't co-signed anything in years. I told her that. She explained the application included a digital signature and scanned documents, documents I instantly recognized as old files from when I refinanced their mortgage years ago. They didn't forge my name, I muttered, after hanging up. They forged my trust. It wasn't just betrayal. It was theft, with paper trails and legal weight. This wasn't emotional. This was criminal. Not even an hour later, a thick envelope showed up in my mailbox. No return address, but stamped urgent. Inside, A notice of overdue repayment tied to that same loan, now delinquent, sent to my apartment. My personal credit now marked at risk. Employment flagged for potential alert if collections escalated. They didn't just take money. They handed me a time bomb and hoped it'd never go off. That night, I printed everything. Email threads, my original mortgage records, screenshots of the warning call. I created a folder on my desktop and titled it, "They Took My Name." Then I drafted a message to Lyle. Subject, activate. I attached the files and wrote one line, formal legal action and asset withdrawal. I didn't cry, didn't shake. Just sat still and thought, they thought I wouldn't light the match. I hit send. I am the fire. The community event was set for that weekend. Town hall, modest stage, folding chairs set up in uneven rows. I came early, sat in the back. Eudora was wearing pearls. Kellen had on a blazer too tight in the shoulders, like he borrowed it for the show. The MC introduced them as pillars of community resilience. Then the video started playing again. The one I helped shoot. Their voices overlaid on my sacrifice. I stood up. No theatrics, no clearing of the throat. Just walked down the side aisle and handed a sealed envelope to the moderator. He looked at it, then looked at me. I nodded once, sat back down. He opened it, skimmed, then turned off the projector. There's been a development. We've received documentation that requires review before any recognition can proceed. Gasps, whispers, chairs shifting. Eudora's expression flattened. Kellen blinked. Then blinked again. No one clapped. No one spoke. I folded my hands in my lap and stared straight ahead. The next day, the town's Facebook pages were on fire. Before you cheer, check the fine print started trending in our zip code. An anonymous account, Lyle's I knew, posted the full evidence file. Dates, payments, legal ownership, removal without consent, bank notarizations, all of it, and suddenly, they weren't the face of stability anymore. They were the face of scandal. Dad tried to call. I let it ring out and then blocked the number. Eudora sent one email. Subject, why would you humiliate us? No greeting, no apology, just that. I didn't reply. Instead, I opened the private video I'd recorded weeks ago. Me in the dim light of my apartment, reading out the numbers they never thought I'd speak aloud. Mortgage, repairs, sacrifices. I uploaded it to an unlisted link titled, "The Truth I Paid For." No name, no face, just my voice. They took my money, my name, my history, but not my voice. A few days passed. Mail piled up again. Credit restoration notice. Formal apology from the bank. My case had been filed. Pending investigation. That afternoon, I went by the community center. The Bain family legacy plaque, gone. No crowd, no statement, just a blank space on the wall and the sound of someone rolling up a poster with their picture on it. They wanted legacy. I gave them a lesson. I didn't take the highway. I didn't even turn on the radio. Just drove the long way through town with the windows down, letting the wind run its fingers through my silence. Hot Springs looked the same, but something in me had shifted. Like I was finally watching it from the outside, not standing in the middle trying to make sense of it. The community center stood at the corner, bright lights off for the weekend. I slowed the car just enough to see the wall, the one that used to hold the Bain family legacy plaque. Now it was bare. Just drywall and faded paint where the bolts had been. I didn't smile, didn't feel victorious, just nodded once, like someone crossing off the final thing on a long, painful list. I turned onto Hillcrest, past the second oak tree on the left, and pulled up near the house I used to call home. Overgrown grass, dead porch light, the foreclosure notice still taped to the front door, corners curled, half blown from the last storm. I didn't turn off the engine, didn't get out. I just watched. Then she appeared, Eudora, barefoot, hair undone, standing on the porch like someone waiting on a miracle that never came. She saw the car. Her eyes locked onto mine from across the yard. She ran, fast, desperate, arms waving like that'd make it easier to undo everything that came before. I didn't stop. I didn't roll down the window. Just kept rolling forward, slow, steady. Not with cruelty, with certainty. She wanted me to chase her love. I chose my own peace. From the corner of my eye, I saw it. Through the dirty living room window. The clock I bought her for her birthday a decade ago. Still hanging, crooked, dust-covered. The battery long dead. Hands frozen at 3:17 p.m. That day, I'd cooked alone while they laughed in the backyard. I remember placing the gift on the table, wrapped neat, with a card. She opened it, nodded, hung it without a word. The time never moved again. That clock wasn't broken. It was a metaphor I didn't know I was giving, a gift never valued, a time that never moved forward. I whispered, "You don't lose what you never had. You stop mourning it." I drove home without checking the mirror once. Back at my place, I made dinner. One plate, one fork, one seat at the table. And it was enough. I didn't feel lonely, just present. My apartment was quiet, still, but mine, everything in it, chosen, paid for, not borrowed from anyone else's legacy. On the top shelf sat the binder, the one full of receipts, notarized statements, timelines. I hadn't touched it in weeks, didn't need to. The court was handling the rest now. My phone buzzed. Lyle, final confirmation. Appeal denied. I read it once, deleted it. No victory dance. No champagne. Just air. And stillness. And something I couldn't name that finally felt like peace. I opened the drawer in the hallway. Pulled out the old handkerchief. The one I found shoved under rubber bands in their kitchen. I folded it, placed it inside a small wooden box, then added the unsigned thank you card, a community flyer from the fundraiser, and the dried flower from the day I built their garden. I wrote on the box in permanent marker, "I remember differently now." Not as revenge, as closure. Not by burning it down, but by naming it for what it was. I didn't need anyone to confirm my story anymore. I knew, and that was enough. Later that week, I made a small donation to a scholarship fund in my name. Not Bain, just Madison. On the note, I wrote, "For the ones who were erased but kept showing up anyway." That night, I sat on the balcony with a glass of wine. No noise, no expectation. Just the sky changing color, soft and slow. I didn't feel like a winner. I felt real. They used my silence to build their comfort. I used their betrayal to rebuild myself. A breeze passed over the balcony rail. I closed my eyes and breathed.